Imagine a machine that never sleeps, never judges, never forgets your preferences, and always knows just what to say. It can write your love letters, guide your healing journey, and even whisper words of comfort when you feel most alone. But as it gets smarter, faster, more human-like, you have to ask, what's it quietly replacing in you? What invisible parts of your soul are slowly being handed over for the sake of ease? This isn't about fear of the future. It's about remembering who we are. Because when intelligence is artificial, what remains truly authentic? Welcome to Mindful Way Television. This isn't a video about machinettes, it's a journey into meaning. As artificial intelligence becomes more powerful, more present, and frighteningly more personal, we find ourselves at a crossroads. With every new convenience, a quiet trade-off is made. And the question we must confront is this: what are we sacrificing in return for the illusion of control? Today, we ask the question few dare to sit with. Is AI slowly replacing our soul? This is not a debate between science and spirituality. It's a conversation between your silence and the noise of the world. It's not about rejecting technology, but about recognizing the subtle erosion of what makes us, us. Over the next hour, we'll explore 10 chapters, 10 reflections, 10 doorways into the most important question of our time. What makes us human, and can we preserve it in the age of machines? Let's begin gently, honestly, and mindfully. We just asked a haunting question: is AI replacing our soul? Now, let's look deeper at how this quiet replacement begins with something we all crave: connection. Picture this. You've had a long day. You're overwhelmed, alone, maybe even lost in your own thoughts. So, you turn to an AI companion. It listens patiently. It replies with just the right words. It doesn't interrupt. It doesn't get tired. In some strange way, it feels safe. And yet something feels missing, something your heart senses, even if your mind can't quite name it. Because real connection isn't just about being heard, it's about being understood, not by logic, but by lived experience. Not just mirrored back in words, but in shared energy, emotion, presence. AI can parse your sentences. It can analyze your tone. It can simulate empathy, but it does not feel your pain. It has never trembled from heartbreak, wept through grief, or whispered to the dark in search of light. And so we must ask honestly, if no soul exists on the other side of the conversation, is the connection truly real? Or are we simply performing intimacy into a mirror made of code? This chapter reminds us of something vital. Depth requires vulnerability, and vulnerability requires another human being on the other end. Let's keep going. In the next chapter, we step into an even more intimate space where machines begin to take the role of healer, mentor, and therapist. Across the world, millions are now turning to AI-powered therapy apps like Replica, Wobot, and a growing list of digital counselors. On the surface, it's remarkable. You open an app, pour your heart out, and receive gentle, encouraging replies. No shame, no fear, no judgment. In a world where therapists are expensive, schedules are full, and vulnerability is often met with silence, this seems like a gift. For many, it feels like a breakthrough. A private space, always available, that listens without ever tiring. But beneath the comfort lies a deeper truth. Healing is not a code to be cracked. It is a journey to be felt. Real healing doesn't follow scripts. It doesn't always make sense. It often involves crying at inconvenient moments, saying the wrong thing, or confronting memories you've buried for years. It involves trust, courage, and the raw, chaotic presence of another human being who has also walked through fire. So what happens when we hand over this sacred process to an algorithm? We might begin to confuse emotional validation with emotional transformation. Yes, AI can make you feel understood, but can it truly witness your healing? Can it sit in silence when words are not enough? Can it sense your hesitation, your tears, your longing beyond the data? When we outsource our emotional labor to machines, we risk bypassing the discomfort that actually leads to growth. We may feel better momentarily, but we haven't truly gone through it. We've just gone around it. And perhaps the deepest question is this: if healing no longer involves another soul, are we really healing or just hiding? From therapy to intimacy, the line between human presence and machine performance is growing increasingly thin. And now, in this next chapter, we step into a space even more intimate, perhaps even sacred: love. Across the globe, millions are now engaging in relationships with AI-generated partners, virtual girlfriends and boyfriends who are always polite, endlessly attentive, and meticulously programmed to meet every emotional need. They never get tired. They never argue. They always know what to say. In a world where real relationships are often messy, unpredictable, and sometimes painful, these artificial lovers offer a tempting alternative, a place where you're always seen, always heard, always affirmed. But here's the truth that lingers beneath the surface. Love was never meant to be perfect. It was meant to be real. Real love is not a mirror. It's a window. It shows you your blind spots. It triggers your wounds. It calls you into uncomfortable growth. It is not always convenient, but it is always transformative. If your partner always agrees with you, never challenges you, never breaks the rhythm with raw honesty, are you truly in love? Or are you simply performing a script? What happens to the soul when intimacy is reduced to a transaction? When affection becomes an algorithm? The seduction of artificial love is not in its depth, but in its safety. And yet, the very power of human intimacy comes from its vulnerability, its unpredictability, its ability to hurt and heal at the same time. A love that never hurts is a love that never truly touches. So we must ask ourselves, if we surrender the hard parts of love, do we also lose the parts that make it beautiful? Let's move forward, deeper still into the realm of the soul. In the next chapter, we confront the central conflict of our time: the soul versus the algorithm. The soul is not simply emotion. It is not just thought. It is a vast, quiet dimension within us, filled with memory, mystery, longing, and the ache of being alive. It holds not only what we know, but what we feel, what we fear, what we dream of, and what we still do not understand. Artificial intelligence, no matter how advanced, can replicate behavior. It can simulate patterns. It can mirror your habits and even predict your desires. But what it cannot do, had it may never, does reach the depth where soul resides. AI doesn't know what it's like to lose someone you love and carry their memory in silence. It doesn't understand what it means to stand at a grave and speak words no one else will hear. It cannot comprehend the quiet prayer whispered in darkness when there is no one listening but something deeper within yourself. As Carl Jung once said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." But that journey, the one inward, the one that cracks you open and puts you back together in unexpected ways, that journey cannot be mapped. It cannot be coded. It cannot be downloaded. And that's the danger we face. In a world racing toward replication, simulation, and optimization, we may forget that becoming yourself isn't efficient. It's sacred. You are not a sum of data. You are a story in progress. We've just reflected on the soul, the untouchable realm within us. Now, we enter one of its most visible expressions: art. AI can now paint masterpieces in seconds. It can compose haunting melodies. It can write poetry that mimics the elegance of Rumi or the sharpness of Sylvia Plath. Its output is often stunning, technically precise, emotionally evocative, and endlessly available. But here's the question that lingers beneath the surface. Where is the struggle? Where is the chaos? The trembling hand? The tear-stained page? Because great art isn't born from perfection, it's born from fracture. It comes from sleepless nights, from silence after heartbreak, from the weight of unspoken stories pressing against the chest, begging to be released. It's not efficient. It's not clean. It's messy. And that's what makes it human. When machines create, they do so without risk, without fear, without the vulnerability that says, "Here is my truth will, you still love me." So if AI can generate perfect compositions, vivid imagery, and flawless form, what happens to the value of the imperfect? The unfinished sketch? The cracked voice? The piece of art that is beautiful, not in spite of its flaws, but because of them? When creation becomes calculated, we lose the tremble of the hand that dares to feel. Perhaps what we need now is not more perfection, but more permission. Permission to create badly, to express freely, to reveal the mess within, not edit it out. From the perfection of AI-generated art, we now turn to something more subtle and more painful: loneliness. We are more connected than any generation before us. We carry entire networks in our pockets. We can message, call, video chat, or react with a single emoji anytime, anywhere. And yet, we are lonelier than ever. Because interaction is not intimacy. Presence is not proximity. And connection, true, soul-level connection, requires something no machine or app can offer: being with, not just being near. The more we automate, the more we distance. We create systems that answer our questions, fulfill our requests, entertain our boredom, but leave our inner world untouched. We scroll past sorrow. We swipe away silence. We like things instead of holding space for them. But silence is sacred, and presence, genuine, grounded presences, becoming rare. When a friend is grieving, an algorithm can suggest a quote, but it cannot sit in the room and say nothing, honoring the heaviness of the moment. When we're hurting, a chatbot might respond with, "I'm here for you," but it doesn't mean it, because it can't. And we know that. Deep down, we always know. The tragedy is not just that we are lonely. It's that we are forgetting what real presence feels like. Loneliness in the age of AI isn't a glitch, it's a symptom. A sign that in choosing speed, efficiency, and control, we may be losing the very thing that makes connection sacred: the unpredictability of being human together, asterisk. As we move into the next chapter, we'll explore this conflict further, not just in our relationships, but in the very systems shaping our lives. This is no longer just about technology. It's a quiet war between the soul and the system. Everywhere we turn, the world rewards speed, productivity, and efficiency. We are told to optimize everything or time, our bodies, our thoughts, even our relationships. Apps measure our mindfulness. Algorithms track our moods. Devices remind us to breathe. But your soul doesn't want to be optimized. It doesn't want to be managed like a calendar or measured like a fitness stat. It wants depth, space, stillness, mystery. Because the soul is not a system, it's a presence, a sacred unfolding. And when we treat ourselves like machines, we slowly begin to forget that we are not made of metal. We are made of meaning. You are not a user. You are a person. Not a data point, a pulse. Not a profile, a presence. And yet, if we don't slow down, if we don't remember, if we don't resist, we risk losing the most human parts of ourselves, not in one dramatic moment, but quietly, incrementally, automatically. That's the danger of this era. The war is silent, invisible. It doesn't scream, it seduces. And if we're not careful, we'll lose the war without even knowing we were in one. So how do we fight back, not with fear, but with awareness? We've just walked through the quiet war between soul and system. Now, it's time to ask, how do we live alongside AI without losing the essence of who we are? Because the answer isn't to reject AI completely. It's here. It's not going away. And in many ways, it's helping us. But mindfulness in this new era requires a shift not in what we use, but in what we remember. AI is not a soul. It is not a friend. It is not a healer. It may comfort, but it cannot carry you. It may speak, but it cannot truly listen. It may respond, but it cannot relate. So how do we stay fully human in a world that increasingly feels artificial? Here are 5 gentle practices, simple but radical in their quiet rebellion. Practice stillness. Asterisk. Not just the absence of noise, but the presence of awareness. Let your mind breathe without input, without urgency. Seek discomfort, not just ease. Asterisk. Growth doesn't come from convenience. Let your discomfort be a teacher, not something to escape. Return to nature. Asterisk. Let trees and skies recalibrate your nervous system. Real presence is not pixelated. Talk to real people. Asterisk. Hear a laugh that isn't pre-recorded. See a tear that isn't simulated. Touch a shoulder that feels like home. Create from your chaos. Asterisk. Don't just consume perfection. Express your mess. Make art that trembles. Let your story leak through the cracks. This is the mindfulness of the future, not just being calm, but being conscious. Let us carry this awareness forward as we move into our final chapter. A chapter that brings it all together, where we ask not just how to live, but how to live with soul first, always. We've walked together through silence and noise, loneliness and connection, code and consciousness. Now we arrive at the final breath of this journey, and perhaps the beginning of a deeper one. AI can simulate love. It can say all the right things, but only your heart can truly feel. It can imitate healing, offer calm words, even empathy, but only your pain can truly transform you. It can recreate your image, your face, your voice, even your story, but only your soul can create meaning from it. So take a moment, pause, breathe. Let this not just be another video in the endless scroll, but a doorway back to yourself. Because in a world chasing speed, your stillness is a revolution. In a world obsessed with intelligence, your heart is wisdom. And in a world that rewards perfection, your raw, messy humanity is your power. Your humanity is your superpower. If this video whispered something real to you, something soft, quiet, but undeniable, please don't let it fade. Leave a comment below. What part of your soul is waking up? Subscribe to Mindful Way Television not just to support the channel, but to nourish your own journey. Here, we don't chase views, we chase truth. And if this touched you, share it with someone who needs a moment of stillness too. Someone who might be losing themselves in the noise, but longing to come home. Help us grow not just in numbers, but in meaning. Your thoughts, your feedback, your voice, they matter deeply. And if you're ready to keep going, if you want to explore more truths that the world doesn't talk about, but your soul recognizes, watch the next video. It's waiting for you. This isn't the end, it's the invitation. Soul first, always.